everybody, and welcome. Today we're talking about the third piece on my new album, In Defense of Daydreaming. The piece is called The Whole Brevity Thing, and we're going to talk about the composition, the guitar solos, there's two of them, and the tracking and the mixing. The Whole Brevity Thing was originally conceived for acoustic piano, acoustic bass, drum kit, and jazz guitar, and is in a similar vibe to a piece I wrote called Walk It Off. If you were to hear this song and you didn't know better, you might think it was two different pieces put together, but right from the beginning, the whole idea was to have a very different and distinct A and B sections. The structure is pretty straightforward. It's A, B, A, then a guitar solo based on the harmony of B, first part of B. Then there's a transition to the second solo. The second solo is based on A. That transition is actually the first part of B. Then out of that second guitar solo, we have another transition, which is the second part of B into the final A. So here's the basic idea with the bass line is, and I sat here and wrote it with guitar and then notated it in Sibelius. It's just that. It's just a couple measures. Kind of establishing that G7, all right in the scale, and then an enclosure around the third, and then we get a little tritone there. This whole second half is based on tritones, but the 13th to the flat 9, then the third and the 7th, and then the root and the flat 5 or sharp 4, all kind of implying could be pentatonic scales, it could be melodic minors. Given that this piece was now going to be a mixture of electronic and electric and acoustic instruments, I wanted to get right into Logic and get my bass sound together and pull those other tracks in from Sibelius. Now, I actually programmed this synth sound myself in Serum. And then, of course, exported that and all these other MIDI bass sounds to Pro Tools. Based on the B section, the harmony of the B section, but transposed down a minor third, but now we're going into swing and a double time feel. Rather than writing a whole new section that comes out of thin air, I want the piece to have cohesiveness. So I'm finding ways harmonically, melodically, rhythmically, whatever it is, or like in this piece, it was very important because these two sections were so different to have cohesiveness in the arrangement. In the solo, I am first and foremost thinking thematically. So hopefully what I'm playing is making sense and connecting one thing to another. And second, particularly on a solo like this, where there are long portions, in this case mostly two measures of the same chord, I want to play chord per chord and look for the notes that stay the same, the notes that change, my options for scales and arpeggios for each chord. So for instance, that A over G, I'm probably going to think of that as some kind of A7, you know, an A7 with the G and the bass. So that gives me a lot of options. 7-note scale options there. You know, chromaticism and all that. And then our next chord, B minor 7 with the F sharp in the bass. We're following that bass line down. And I can easily resolve that A7 obviously to the B minor. So I can think of Dorian here, or I can think of more of a aioli with the G natural, or I can go with the G sharp. And then our next chord, G over a C. So now if my previous chord had a C sharp, for instance, I can get into a C natural there. F over a B flat, so that chord is moved down a step. And then a minor 11, which to me has a little bit of a lift. I can go with a B natural there. I can treat it almost as the third chord, the 3 chord of the F over B flat, if I'm thinking of that being more in an F, or I can think of it being more in more of a key of a B flat, for instance. So if I'm thinking of this in a B flat, I've got an E flat, and then you get into that A minor 11. I can brighten it up. I can also use pentatonics, as you kind of heard me do there, getting bluesy with it. In my original concept of the song, the first solo was going to be a piano solo, but when I came to record it, obviously I put 2 guitar solos in there, so we wanted something very different. Now, we're in a different interpretation of the melody. And I'm bringing this sound to the solo. In the solo, there are multiple harmonic minor scales, there are pentatonic scales, diminished, whole tone, anything you can think of to play over a dominant chord. Now when I say pentatonic, I'm also including blues scales, or substituting instead of substituting out that 6 for the 7th. All this kind of stuff. To me, that all is pentatonic E. The solo that you hear is 1 take. It was probably the 3rd take or something of it. And yeah, it starts with a big old bend. You can hear that I get into the pentatonics, and then ultimately down to the low E and a big bend there, and you'll hear a lot of kind of more like kind of out notes and stuff, and that's coming out of the harmonic minor. Inspired by what's happening in that bass line, I am, like I often do, combining the, if I'm in G7, the A flat melodic minor and the D melodic minor. I heard the end there, I went into a pentatonic. So that's all kind of happening. And then at measure 8, not 9, but at measure 8, we switch to the F7, and there I just, again, improvised, but eventually I'm getting into whole tone stuff. From Logic, I exported the audio tracks to a Pro Tools tracking session and then put acoustic guitars, electric guitars, anything like that there. I also did a separate session with Jake Reed, the drummer, on audio movers, which was great because it allowed me to produce the session remotely. This is a quick look at the template. Now I've removed some tracks, obviously, like vocals, all the background vocals that I don't need, but we go all the way from here where we've got a click, all the way down through the drums, the percussion, the bass, acoustic guitars, electric guitars, pianos, keys, all the way down to our effects. One of the first things I do is I lay out the form of the piece up here so I know what's going on and where I am at all times. As a matter of fact, I even put the measures numbers in here so that we are lined up with that Sibelius chart. In this case, the bass was recorded in the DI. You can see that there's 2 other basses here. These are actually copies of this, and then I've affected each one of these a little bit differently, and giving more top end, more growl, more low end, put the 3 together, and you've got a good bass sound. You can see that these are comped together. When we did the session, We used playlists in Pro Tools. Can't say that there was anything wrong with what he played. I just took my favorite spots and kind of comped those together, and it's a beautiful drum track. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch this video. If anyone's interested in getting a hold of the score, it's at my website. All the materials for this video are linked in the description. In Defense of Daydreaming is available on all platforms, and we will see you next video.